All right, welcome folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your sit rep for Monday morning. It is 5/16/2022. And without further ado, let's hop over the boards. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification as we get into this. Now, we're going to start out over here in Skyglass. As you guys can see, a pretty active day for a Monday in terms of aircraft up. Now, there are a lot of trainers still here kind of concentrated in our normal areas. That will skew our numbers a little bit. We're showing about 306 up with about 480 total loaded. But let's get on over to the business of the day here, and we'll take a look. Now, I was going to tell you guys, if we push the app out, if you're having an issue getting a link to the app, there's something going on. It basically, you can't search for the app, although I've got the app and I've got a link to the app. And the link works fine, but our app provider is doing something strange right now between the two, trying to get the Android up and then the iOS stuff up. So if you're having an issue, just be patient. It's coming. Also, the push notifications have not been turned on yet, and so as soon as that happens, you guys will know, because you'll start getting the pushes every time we load something. So just want to apologize. Part of those little hiccups when you're getting started with the new app, and we're excited that it is becoming available, but I think we may have prematurely launched out there with that app, and then it wasn't quite ready yet from the app provider. So anyway, just a little intel for you, but I wanted you to be aware of that. If you're having an issue, you can't find it as we go out here and push it. It is there and it is working. If you've already got it, you're good. But if you're searching for it in the search field on your phone in the App Store, it is not showing up. So, but that's okay. We'll get that back on track here shortly. So without further ado, let's get over here to our watch list. I'll just show you, it's kind of quiet today in terms of the aircraft that we are watching. A lot of, we've got one E6 up, a lot of P8s out over the Florida area, and look like they're just doing some standard flight stuff now. Remember that, and of course we got the intelligence birds always up, those balloons, high-flying balloons. We get over here to Europe, and we're going to look a little closer at this. We have solved that mystery of why these guys are kind of loitering in this general area right here. That's Constanta port. And we did solve that mystery over the weekend, and so I just want to show you that. But you can see they are still kind of concentrating efforts over that region. And we've got everything from a Q4 drone up to the NATO bird doing its little circling, grabbing data. There's your Forte 12. That is going to be a Q4 Global Hawk drone. And just kind of give you an idea. But again, that's over that port right there. Now, if we look at the heavies, keep in mind there is an active NATO exercise going on right now, so this could skew a little bit of our what we're watching. But I will tell you, they seem to be kind of feeding it into the network they have established already. As you can see, we've got a couple birds heading up kind of north towards Finland, Norway, that kind of region, and then right here along that border line of Ukraine, we seem to be looking at some drop-offs right up there. That's one section. You can see a little bit. It's a C-130 that rolled in and out of there. And then right down here, and so between Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, all of those areas seem to be the ones that are getting a lot of the attention in terms of the heavy lift activity, delivering assets. And down here in Crete general area, seems to be another establishment for us. We've always kind of had a presence there, but it looks like we were kind of stepping that up. The thing that I do want to point out here is Israel today, for some reason, have a lot of C-130s very active. There's 4 or 5 there flying around right now. I don't know what's going on, but they seem to be launched and heading northbound. So if you've watched the news, there's been a lot of stuff going on over there this weekend. Well, our local news isn't reporting it, but if you've watched any of the other stuff that we've posted, Monkey Minutes and things like that, it is getting pretty hot over there. Hotter than a junkie spoon, like I like to say. But it is definitely an area we need to watch right now. So But that evidently, I guess there was an Al Jazeera or some reporter that got killed, and so that has heated things up in the region. And of course, we got Flashbang talking about making Palestine a capital within the region, and actually asking Jordan to take over the Temple Mount, which is a very, very interesting dynamic. We'll have to watch that closely because I don't understand Biden's involvement in that other than just stirring the pot. But interesting data point nonetheless, because we just had the King of Jordan show up at the White House last week. So, but anyway. All right, so we looked at the heavy lifts. Let's get over to the air refuelers. I'll just show you. It is pretty light, actually, from what we're seeing. This is the last 12 hours. Now, I know at the top it says C-130, but that's just because that's what I had clicked on last. That is not it, actually. So here in the U.S., again, we have this activity going on around the Panhandle. You can see them running those air refueling tracks in that general region over the Gulf. There's not an exercise going on out here in the Atlantic anymore. That ended on the 15th. So I don't know if it's supporting getting them back or what the deal is, but I do see one that's coming across the drink, air refueler, that could have been piloting some fighters back across. Very possible. But we will we'll watch to see what happens there. And remember that NATO exercise, so we definitely are putting some fighters in across over there into Europe right now for that exercise, and we're probably already putting some in to begin with. So again, kind of light from that aspect, but if you look at big picture in the roll-up, looking at the heavy lifts, the air refuelers, I think there may be a R-135 mixed in there somewhere, but you can see we got some stuff coming in from Hawaii. Two birds rolling in. Those look to be fresh, and that's I don't know where they're headed, but they are coming inbound from Hawaii. And then you get over here to the EU, and you look at the roll up, and it's actually very, very busy. It's a heck of a wire diagram, so to speak. Spread out. There's an R-135 out here over to the right side of the Black Sea. Again. There's a NATO exercise going on, but they are still continuing their daily operations within that mix. So normally when they do that exercise, they're basically just flipping the switches on everything, making sure everybody's got eye lock, kicking the tires before things go hot, so to speak, right? And so that's why there is the importance of kind of running it. You see Russia doing it. They've been doing it now for months up in Belarus and a couple other areas. And so I imagine it will continue to go that way, and so until things do go hot. So, all right, let's break over here to the board real fast. I'm going to look at flight radar. I just want to show you the volcanic activity. It's been kind of interesting. We've got 4 down here between Central and South America. We've got 3 popping. This is Krakatoa, Ibu, and Manam, and those 3 are firing. You can see the ash warnings here, and that's down here in Papua New Guinea. And then right here, another ash warning. And then out here, again, Krakatoa still firing there. Then we get up north a little bit. We've got this one going. That's, I guess, considered Soviet Union. Maybe. I don't know. But I think that is. But you can see that one is also firing right now. And then, of course, these down here as always. So we will continue to keep our eyes on that. Let's see what flights are being tracked right now. We talked about this Forte 14. You can see him currently. He was running over that Constanta area. We're going to get into those details here in just a minute. But you can see he's got a lot of interest right now over the Black Sea. Keep in mind, that is a Q4 drone, Global Hawk drone. That brother right there is probably looking all the way up in here and all the way down in here. So very big reach, and for him to be running long ways across the Black Sea, he is gathering intel on all kinds of stuff, 100%, and he has got the ability to hang in that area for about 18 hours or so. It's a pretty insane deal. So, and then of course here's our NATO bird. People watching this one too over the region. Let's see. Let me back up. It's not giving me the track quite yet. But again, here's Constanta. This is a spot that we are watching, and we're going to talk about more. But you can see this guy is kind of in that general area. Again, grabbing data, watching the skies. There's a reason for it, all right? Okay. Now, if you missed it last night, this is actually, we had a super blood moon take shape last night. I didn't get a chance to see it because about the time it was starting to peak, we had a bunch of thunderstorms rolling through with hail in them. And I was actually rearranging my shop so I could get my car into the garage. So this thing right here did not really happen well for me. But I do find it quite ominous anytime I see a blood red moon, especially a supermoon. Of course, it is not a holy feast day in Israel. But I will say, if you notice, that really seemed to go directly over South America. And boy, I mean, it just kind of, I don't know. It does seem kind of ominous, not going to lie. And of course, we get it up here in North America. So is it a sign for something to come? Who knows? But I will tell you, if you know, if you followed me for a while, you do know that Donald J. Trump was born to the minute on a blood moon over Israel, if that tells you anything. And so I do believe there is some kind of tie-in or significance to these blood moons as a warning to nations or countries. So needless to say, if, you know, Donald had a lot of influence over Israel. I mean, he announced that capital. He put in, you know, kicked off at least the front end of the Abraham Accord peace deal that hasn't happened in a long time. So there is, I think, some significance to that. So needless to say, this just took place last night. Thought it was interesting. It is, you know, take it with a pinch of salt, I guess. Believe it or don't believe it, but I do think they're ominous. So, all right, let's get over here to a flashbang schedule. Let's see what this guy's got going on here. Looks like he's having some bilateral meetings with some dude I can't pronounce from the Hellenic Republic. And let's see. Okay, so this is all about Greece and Greek independence. Yeah, it looks like that's his afternoon, basically 3:30 to 5 p.m. is tied up with that. And let's see, medals for valor. Oh, beyond Call of Duty. All right, very cool. All right, so it looks like that's at 11:45 this morning. Some folks are getting recognized. So, okay. Let's move on over here to the ship traffic. Let me hit agree on that. We're going to come back to Constanta. Actually, we'll stop at that one. I'm going to take you over here real fast. I'm going to show you the Shanghai ports, what's going on. Now, my understanding is Shanghai is still on lockdown to a degree, meaning the production, manufacturing, and the residents. You can see there is still a giant amount of boats parked off the coast there. Things are flowing, but my understanding is that the lockdowns are still in play until June 1st. And so at which point they will be coming back online. So that means we're headed probably to a 2-month cycle. Again, for every 1 week, it takes 6 weeks for them to get back to full scale running. And so there you see a lot of boats still parked, very busy. But this right here is kind of the ominous sign. Let's get over and take a look. I will show you. This is the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach. I'm going to take down, let me turn off some of these ships because some of these are showing passenger vessels. And I mean, that could be a sailboat from some dude. Navaids, unspecified ships. I don't really care to see those. So let's just look at the cargo ships and the tankers. Now, the red are oil tankers, all right, parked out here. And then the green are cargo. Now, if you get in close, you're going to notice they're just being unloaded. They'll send them back out. But we're getting down to the point where there's nothing really coming in. So that place is going to be empty and very quiet. Now, this is over in Europe. You can see the steady stream of flow coming through those pinch points right up there through Istanbul, which is another spot. You can see them kind of flowing in, and they're staggering and staging, almost like the Suez Canal in terms of getting in and out of the Black Sea. But this Constanta that we've been talking about right here is basically, that is your watch point. And the reason why we've had the aircraft flying over the area, as you can see, these are cargo vessels parked out there, a couple oil tankers. But the reason we've had all of this parked over the area is because this is the only port available in the Black Sea that the Ukrainians can use to get their product shipped out and down and through here and over to the other parts of the world, right? So they're using train right now to get stuff moved out of here and into Europe. But when it comes to seaports, that is why we've got that situation going on. Now, you can go over here to the marine vessel traffic, and I will show you. We get up here in the Black Sea, you're going to see we do have, here is that is actually a Romanian military ops boat sitting right off the coastline right here, protecting that port. All right, and that's what we do see. Now, I'm sure there are others in here. These are also military vessels in port in Constanta. As you can see, that's kind of an area they hang out. But this dude right here is hanging out. And, of course, we've got the Q4 drone flying right across here, right? Running in and out, running a little bit of, I guess, running the traps, so to speak. You've got the air refuelers up here. You've got fighters up here. You've got NATO AWACS up here. They're watching this area very closely, and that is because, I'm going to get into this port if it's going to let me. Actually, I'm not going to waste my time with Google Earth this morning because it is not wanting to do that. But this is the reason right here. Romanian port races against the clock to move Ukrainian grain to global markets. Again, it's the only pinch point. If Russia can get their hands on this, they can basically shut down all the grain and food leaving Ukraine because other than the rails that are leaving, of course, that's inside Ukraine. All they've got to do is take control of Ukraine and they stop everything. So that's why it's so crucial for Europe. But this is kind of like the last holdout. This is the Alamo, so to speak, from a port perspective that's feeding the grain into places like Egypt and Africa. Okay, so the reason I'm showing that is because they've got just a very small window to get this stuff moved out before the next harvest. Now, we've heard that the harvest and the things going on are all compromised within the Ukraine. I don't know. According to this article, that doesn't look like that's really the case. It looks like they've got a 3-month window. They've got to get everything currently that has already been harvested out. And then in preparation for this next batch that's coming out about 3 months from now, which is going to be really interesting because that is about the time, you probably are going to see a lot of food shortages as they've been talking about, right? It's a 6-month window. So if stuff's being harvested in 3 months, by the time it gets out, gets to their ports and to their destination, we're right on that window of when the shortages are expected to hit. So I think they may be thinking that Russia is going to be very heavy in play in Ukraine at about that point. So, okay, so that is the reason why. Now here is over to Forward Observer. Again, this is a beautiful source for intel. It says no Russian gas through Poland or Slovakia. They're basically saying that there are no bookings for June because these folks are refusing to pay for everything in rubles. And so that is a grim outlook for folks that are in that region. That means they're not going to be getting any fuel or gas from the pipeline. So that's a very interesting dynamic because that's going to put a squeeze on a lot of things. And then also notice, I just want to point this out, that Turkey is to block the NATO expansion. The reason for that is because Turkey, Iran, Russia, they have an alliance and an agreement. Those guys are all working closely together. Remember, in the Bible, they are part of Ezekiel 38 and Gog Magog. And so that relationship is not going to be broken. And it looks like Turkey is starting to kind of show their colors and making that stand, being a part of NATO. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to be part of NATO after this. But I do want to point that out, that they are starting to kind of ruffle some feathers there. And then, of course, Russia right now is butthurt level bravo about folks joining NATO, that the expansion of NATO, they see it as a direct threat. And so that is probably going to escalate things, not de-escalate things, okay? All right. Now, here's another little piece of news as we get into kind of troop movements and things of that nature. I just want to show you that the 100% of the Russian Black Sea Fleet submarines are now engaged. That means everything is out of port and into the water. So when you see this take place right here, let me get back over here to flight radar. Let's drop this down. Let's take a look at the Forte 12 Q4 Global Hawk. So when you see this plane flying around in this region, it's looking for subs. It's looking for a lot of different things. Again, that Q4 has got some insane technology, and it has that ability to do a lot of things that most people don't realize. Matter of fact, most of it's probably classified in terms of what it can do. But the range on that, if he's flying out in here, he's probably looking for stuff. I don't see any P3 Orions or P8 Subhunters out in the region, which is surprising. We have seen them up here, but we have not seen them out here. But this could be doing a lot of that same legwork in terms of reconnaissance, okay? So just to point that out. I don't know how many that entails in terms of nuclear subs, but that looks to be the next step up from the Russians. All right, now here's another one too. Russian lawmaker says Poland is the next in line for denazification. That's a key word, and the reason I think that is important to understand is because if you know that history on Ukraine, 1946, and the fact that our agencies have been engaged in that region for a while, that terminology right there is kind of important to understand. And so it looks like they have their eyes set on Poland when this stuff gets completed into Ukraine, which will definitely engage NATO. That would be full-on war. So very interesting verbiage there, okay? Now, here's the other thing, too, I want to point out. As we watch all of the things taking shape over in China, this is an interesting dynamic because we all sit there and think, oh boy, man, their economy is collapsing. This is awesome, right? But the reality is it's going to impact us. It's going to impact the world because they are a big player in the world, and especially from a commodity standpoint. I would challenge you to look around you today. Take 30 seconds and in your immediate AO and look at the components that are around you and read where they're from. And I guarantee you're going to go, boom, cell phone, made in China. Remote controller, made in China. I mean, 90% of the objects around you, I guarantee you're going to see are made in China. You know, we are very highly dependent on them, as is the world. And it's not just for commodities like electronics and things of that nature. It is for the littlest detail. I'm talking about boxes to put your products in. It's not good. So when they are showing that this thing is in the toilet, they say that the China's factory output fell the most in 32 years. You can see the bottom line right here. That is no bueno because when we're looking at those boats not coming off with product, I will tell you, I was talking to a HVAC guy over the weekend, and he was telling me, now this is from a commercial standpoint, but he was telling me that the cost of Freon, because it comes out of China, is gone through the roof. That they used to pay about $125 for 25 pounds of Freon, and he said that price now is at $550. So that is just one tiny indicator, but he said he can't get compressors, you can't get parts. So when somebody's AC unit breaks, you're either going to be paying through the roof to get the repair done, or you're going to be without. So it's those little things we're not really thinking about, but it's coming. And I'm telling you, we're closer now. We're probably about 6 weeks out. As you see that port start to kind of level out in Los Angeles with nothing really coming inbound, that means the restock for inventories that are currently geo-positioned here in the U.S. from China are going to start to deplete. The prices on that on those items are going to go up because people are going to realize they can't get more for quite some time. And so just hang on to your wallets, make some smart buying decisions, but be prepared to go without of things that we normally go with, okay? All right, over here to the cyber attack side of the house, our Star Wars map. Let's just kind of bump this down here. It looks like the locations being heavily hit right now. United States and Romania, Germany are the top 3 locations. It does look like U.S. is getting a little more peppered today than they normally are. But very interesting. We'll continue to watch that as things unfold, especially with the NATO exercise going on right now. So speaking of that, and I apologize, there is a little bit of a gap here when I click on the tabs because I had to do a hard reboot. I was having major issues with YouTube this morning and my ability to actually see the chat and to do the stream. I don't know what was going on, but nonetheless, there may be a little bit of some white space in between this, so I apologize as I click on these tabs because it was 30 seconds before I went live and I had to do a reboot. So needless to say, this is going to be Steadfast Cobalt 22. This is actually the NATO exercise going on. You're going to notice the time frame for this one is today through 10 June. So we've got about 3 weeks or so of probably an uptick of activity. So we'll have to kind of take that into consideration when we're watching the movement of things going in and out of the area. Okay, so but we'll continue to watch that. Just a data point for us all. Cobalt 22, and then of course we've got another one here that has actually been taking place. This is an article on usarmy.com or usarmy.mil. But these are the U.S. and U.K. aviators are working together in an exercise called Swift Response 22. And so that just took place over the weekend. So that was an uptick. Mainly that was helo activity. So if you were watching Europe and you saw some, an increase in helo activity, that's what was going on, okay? All right, now over here to Biggs Army Airfield. I do want to point out we've got some movement. We've got some new things coming. We've got a new player that kind of has bounced in. Now, the SPA, this is Sierra Pacific. That one's coming in from Columbus, Ohio, and looks like it's headed to Tucson from there. That is going to be immigrant related. Bet my life on it. This one here, Eastern Airlines, this flew in from Miami. I don't know if it had anybody on it, but from there it is headed to Iceland, probably for a gas stop. They could be putting some folks in Iceland. But that is just that is a troop mover, almost guaranteed. Okay, so just want to point that out. Looks like a little bit of an upsurge. Could be related to the NATO piece. That is going to be the trick of the next 30 days of just trying to figure out what's NATO exercise related, what's not. So we may just have to kind of go with it, watch it, see what happens. Sometimes we do exercises to get troop build up without drawing too much attention to ourselves. And so we'll see what happens there, right? All right, so this is actually up at Fort Dix. Just want to show you, we've got an Air Transport International departing for Dover Air Force Base. And that's the only one that's really on the board right now, all right? And we get over here to the Camber flights. Now, we did have 2 just drop off. We've got 1 still airborne right now that looked like it left out of Ramstein, headed into the Middle East. And then we did have 1 that just landed, took off out of Washington Dulles over here to, it looked like it was going to Ramstein or somewhere in that region. But and then the other one was here, just landed in Europe over here in the Bulgaria kind of range. So again, those are Camber flights. Those are troop movers, 100%. This is actually going to be one of them right here. So we see that one dropped off, and you will see it actually took off and landed in Kirchberg, Germany. All right, so took off out of Washington Dulles, landed 1 hour, 12 minutes ago. So there's that flight, that Camber flight. All right. All right, over here to the Royal Air Force Transport, or ASCOT, as they call it. These guys are extremely busy. They've got stuff going on. Of course, you can see flights. This is their departure origin, and then where they're landing. Now, you typically don't see the destination because it is this one clearly coming to the U.S. somewhere. But they don't show destinations just because it is troop-related movements, and they don't want to give you pinpoint accuracy onto where these guys are going. That's kind of the big indicator, how you know what you're kind of looking at, right? And the U.S. Camber flights are the same way, okay? So this is, again, a lot of movement here within the region. Again, could be part of that NATO exercise, but this is a pretty big load here. I mean, in terms of, it was more than that, about 5 more than that an hour ago, and it has since dropped off the board. But You can see all the way from right here down, what is this, Crete, I think? All the way, this is Israel. So look like we're putting some folks here again. That's a pretty big spot for us. We do it here too. Of course, this is the Mediterranean. That right there is, I don't know if that could be, let me just double check it. Yeah, that is going to be an R-135. Of course, they kind of fall into the fold of that transport command aspect of it. But you can see now, remember, we got the Q4 drone running right here. This is an R-135. Again, these guys can look at a soccer ball or an object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away, data point. But if they're here, Q4 drones here, this is Crimea, this is Russia. And so they are definitely looking at all the assets within this region. I think that that Constanta data point is a big concern for them, and I think that's why they're kind of on guard for that area right now. Okay, it's going to be the Omni stuff. You can see flights coming out of Fort Worth headed up to McCord Joint Base in Tacoma, Washington. That's probably going to be taken. That's a troop mover, probably headed over to Asia. All right, and then it looks like we got another one that's headed up here to Alaska, or actually, sorry, that is coming from Alaska down to March Air Force Base. So that may be some replan, bringing some folks home and putting some fresh boots in. So, okay, over to the Ruskies. Now, remember, we were just talking about the fact that we had the R-135 in the region doing some leg work, as well as this Q4 drone in here. We've talked about the Russians deploying all of their subfleet into the Black Sea that was in the region. And so things have gotten quite active there in terms of the submarines and the naval fleet stuff. Again, Constanta over here, that's a big concern. It looks like they may have been actually just having eyes on this dude that showed up. This is an aircraft that came out of this this spot and went back up here to Moscow. And that landed 1 hour, 13 minutes ago. So timing's kind of interesting. But that is a dignitary. That's somebody, could be a chief of staff, could be anybody reporting in, coming back to Moscow to report in to Putin what is going on the ground down there. So, all right. And, of course, this is going to be our immigration flights, just watching them stack full coming in and out of Texas right now. This one's actually headed inbound from Laredo to Columbus. What we have here, Columbus, Georgia, from Laredo. So that, again, is feeding that, more than likely, the Amazon work machine. Okay, and so they are very, very busy. It is Monday. Got to get some fresh boots on the ground into the Amazon facilities. Remember, this is a big sticking point with the unions, with Amazon. In terms of, Amazon's kind of fighting the union, and it's been escalated all the way up to the White House. You can see Flashbang was actually getting involved and making a lot of big, bold statements about, unions and Amazon, et cetera. And so I do find it interesting that they are just pumping it full of illegals with temporary work visas because, they're trying to keep probably the flow of goods moving, as well as the union's out. So anyway, again, just a data point, but you can see very, very active today down south of the border and across the border, around the border towns. So, all right. Now, this is one I want to point out. I've started to see these. I don't know how long they've existed, but this is one that we need to pay close attention to because I'm not sure. I had something happen a couple weeks ago, and it had the same call-out sign on the East Coast, and I said, what the heck is this? I couldn't figure out what was landing, where it was coming from, but it went from one of these base call-out locations to, it popped into like Fort Dix or something, right? But this is Joint Force Headquarter Airport, Raleigh, North Carolina. The airport call sign is NC-47. So this, again, Joint Force Headquarters. I'm seeing several of these as I start to kind of look through with these weird, strange call-outs. That is new to me. I'm not familiar with that. That's not a normal air base or Air Force base or airport that is on our radar that I've been watching. It could be multi-purpose. It could be tied into the Raleigh-Durham, International Airport, and then it's a little spot over on the far corner of that airport. I don't know. I just want to point this out. We're going to start to keep an eye on these because we've been talking a lot about East Coast movement, a lot about the fact that there appeared to be some type of a buildup going on the East Coast. And then I found this little jewel down here, Joint Force HQ. Now, I do know that in Charleston, South Carolina, that is there are 17 federal installation, I don't know what you call them, training commands or something going on in Charleston. I know that we looked at it before. If you go out to Wikipedia, you can actually just look up a list of all of the, it's Homeland Security, FEMA. It's a whole bunch of them in Charleston. This is not Charleston. This is Raleigh. This is this is Raleigh, North Carolina, different state, different location. And so, but that is new to me. And there's not a lot of activity, or at least I'm not seeing a lot in terms of arrivals, departures. You can see the stuff coming in and out of here. That's EC-35. Those are kind of like helo trainers. Another Bell helicopter, a lot of helicopter activity coming in and out of there. Not seeing what I would think would be from a Joint Force HQ, C-17, some of the big stuff. So I don't know. We will continue to watch it, see if we can't solve this mystery. Like I said, on the Constanta stuff, that's a little, I'm glad we figured out what it was. Like I said, when I saw the stuff going on over the area, we knew that there was definitely something up. The fact that we can watch that, see that, and kind of put it all together, piece it together. That's the beauty of what we do here with the SITREPs is, we observe, we see some out-of-tempo stuff going on, or we see some activity taking shape that kind of indicates that there are, there's something going on there, and eventually you discover it. And so we do the same thing with Guantanamo Bay, which, speaking of, I do want to show you, we've got a Graybird. This is going to be deadheading out of Cartersville. That's their home base operations. Flying up to, looks like it's actually landed in Guantanamo Bay, and then from there, it's going to be taking somebody on this G3 up to the Brown Zone. So it looks like somebody was there, probably came in last week, was dropped off, and then it looks like they've come back to pick them up to take them back up to D.C. And so, but these are, again, those are agency birds. These guys are the ones we see flying. Matter of fact, they're the ones that have hidden a lot of their activity in Europe. These are the same birds that we saw when the Haitian president got assassinated, that popped into the island, popped back out of the island very quickly. And so, just a data point, but these guys, they call them Graybirds. It is Phoenix Air. They are tied in very closely with our DOD and our agencies. So anytime you see those guys flying around, we like to keep an eye on them much as we can, just because it gives us an indication of what's shaking. All right. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think the mystery solved here on Constanta. And so we will continue to watch as NATO does their exercises, and as we watch this reconnaissance stuff take shape over the Black Sea. A lot of submarines in the region. Again, one day we're just going to flip the channel on here and everything's going to be hot, and it's going to be crazy to watch how much we can actually see from it all. And we'll be kind of almost like the History Channel in terms of watching a war unfold right before our very eyes. So, all right, hey, listen, that's going to be it. I hope you guys have a blessed and safe day. Remember, keep that powder dry and stay frosty, because things are definitely not far off on the horizon, folks. That's it. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.